What's going on, guys? It's Frito here for your Overwatch with a huge news roundup. There's a hotfix that went through earlier today, quickly fixing Shambali, where there was a collision exploit. Meanwhile, a lot of players are wondering why there isn't the balance hotfixes that they said they could put through to the game that they developed in Overwatch 1. Meanwhile, of course, this Season 2 patch has had underwhelming responses. Okay, let's be real, it's a travesty. A series of terrible decisions that we all saw coming that would be bad. Okay, after John Spector tweeted a chain of tweets explaining the hotfix system and how it can be used in order to do the tuning numbers to characters or to fix a collision exploit, Aaron Keller went to Twitter to say the team is looking at potential changes to Sojourn, Doomfist, Ramattra, Roadhog, and Tracer with the planned balance changes coming later this week. Now, while he didn't indicate which heroes are getting buffed and nerfed, I think we can guess, if you've played the game at all, which direction each one of these have got to be going. Also, it's safe to say that this won't be coming in tomorrow's typical Tuesday style patch update because a few reasons. One, hotfixes come whenever they want, usually like Wednesday or Thursday, whenever they can get it through. Tuesday patch day is usually for the big patches, which a hotfix isn't. But also, if it was going to be tomorrow, he wouldn't say later this week because he just tweeted this today and he should have just said tomorrow if it was going to be. Now, based on other things they've said recently, particularly comments from Alec Dawson's Q&A recently, I think we can kind of guess where some of these are going to be going. It was quite impressive that the devs seemingly sort of buffed Sojourn. You can make an easy argument that she is stronger now with a Mercy than she was with a Mercy before due to how the breakpoint changes and she has a faster fire rate in Ultimate, for example. Granted, the zoning potential of the one-hit kill from range is down, but the compensation buffs were so much that she still was quite viable. From what I can tell, I think they did accomplish their goal about making her more viable for medium rank players or the average player because she's a lot better at being a body shot bandit now, as well as having the headshot potential. But if I had to guess, one of her many buffs would be coming off the list. Doomfist has been oppressive. They really overdid it with the Doom buffs. In my opinion, the shields buff was a bit too much. The things that allow him to actualize his skill expression, that's one thing, but being an unkillable nightmare is another. On top of it, I think he has a particularly strong matchup against Ramattra, a character who was marketed anyway, and so a lot of players don't really even know how to play him. I'm just seeing Ramattras left and right thinking they're going to transform and pummel the enemy team. Meanwhile, he's an average brawler at best, and tanks that are actually good at brawling will absolutely eat him alive. And if you watched our You're Playing Ramattra Wrong video, you already know the right playstyle to leverage Ramattra's strengths, so it'll be interesting to see which direction they go. Do they level him out a bit more so he can work as he was marketed, or do they make what the top level players think is his best playstyle even better? I could go either way. Though I think it is safe to say some of his absolute best strengths are just kind of lame. Here, Seagull gets the funniest Twitch clip of all time, where him and the stack engage in the most ridiculous Ramattra Forever fight, where both infinite Ramattras are infinitely blocking. High octane gameplay in front of you right here. The others on the list were Roadhog, where Alec Dawson had already mentioned that making him more punishable or having more risk to the things he wants to do is probably coming through. So I would guess a change to Take a Breather is likely in the cards. If they do anything to change his one-shot or damage output, he's probably going to be basically useless, as he kind of was in other patches, let's be honest. But if they even just removed either the ability to move or even move at full speed during Take a Breather or the fortification, one of those things would definitely change him quite a bit, considering there is a cleanse in the game anyway to help protect him from that being too easily punishable. Tracer's on this list. A little bit curious why, because it was pretty obvious she'd be good in this patch, just buffing her damage by 1, but of course she has 2 guns, so it actually buffs it by 2 per bullet. I gotta think she's gonna be reworked somehow as well. So between all of this coming, we know this week, will this save this patch for both quick play and competitive play? Are these the right heroes to be looking at? On my list of complaints, I hear all of these, but on top of this, I would add the Junker Queen buffs, quote unquote, that they intended to give were a bit of a joke. The larger hitbox made it overall a nerf as far as I'm concerned, and her wound self-healing buff is hardly enough when there is a cleanse in the game, so I'm really confused by that character. Other ones they have talked about in the Q&A, so I won't repeat that too much from the other videos that we've had covering that. Another character that is on the tip of everybody's tongue is Brigitte, who doesn't have much of a point right now, but since we already know she's getting a rework to her ultimate, it'll be interesting where that places her. And oftentimes I think characters are put on the shelf for a bit till Blizzard has some ideas on what to do with them, and then they bring them out to play. The problem with that idea, of course, is that the game is holistic, and even if it's convenient for Blizzard's work schedule to deal with certain characters bit by bit, devoting resources to one at a time, the meta of the game has all the heroes inside it. So as soon as some become stronger, others become weaker by de facto, and once in a while you get a character that's left out high and dry due to the two factors of characters being strong against them as well as being forgotten by the devs. And I think Brig is like that because she's not even really good against Doomfist. In fact, you probably should not play her against Doom at all, which is part of the reason why she is so weak right now. In comparison against a hero like Wrecking Ball, even if his stats were better, the mechanics of that character, Brig has better interactions against. Same with Winston, I'd say, because his damage doesn't spike so fast that she just gets blown over. But I certainly hope that there is also a mid-season patch planned anyway, and this series of hot fixes is intended to fix the season patch. This is kind of what we need to expect and see from Blizzard, okay? This idea of we're only going to patch once every month or something is not going to work. No, your first season 2 patch was bad, so hotfix it and make it better. Otherwise, in the news, Overwatch 2 got on the list for Kotaku's biggest gaming disappointments of 2022. Kotaku says Overwatch 2's launch was a giant mess with server issues, bugs, broken characters, overpriced skins, phone login requirements, tons of grinding, a bad battle pass, no PvE content, a big part of the initial Overwatch 2 pitch. Today, a few months later, Overwatch 2 is in a better place, but it still feels like Blizzard picked the absolute worst way to roll this game out and then screwed up that plan too. To be honest, a lot of content creators have just switched over to playing quick play because the ranked meta is so bad that we don't even want to touch it. And I'd say I'm on that train, but I've been on the pro quick play bandwagon for quite a long time, and all y'all are joining me. Where, yeah, I play ranked to get my rank and challenge myself, but I don't overdo it, okay? Especially not in metas that aren't great. That's the only way I've survived covering this game for 6+ years now. One last Reddit post before we go. OmniLinks posts, OMG, please make a healing receive stat Blizzard. This is something that I personally have been asking for years, and I'm shocked that after all of the stats they have attempted to add to the game, this isn't one of the most important. And we still have very rudimentary ones and misleading ones at that. Back in the day in Overwatch 1, there was always a conversation about gold medals, what they do and don't mean. Thankfully, that's gone now, but instead instead, because of the limited information we have, let's say, the Moira medal fallacy, where a character that does nothing other than heal and deal damage farms up more stats than other supports that can do more things that don't show up on the scoreboard, like speeding your team, cleansing your team, disabling the enemy, etc., etc. Some of those get assist points for eliminations, but that even too is vague as well. We know that they're going to be getting more in depth with this with the match history page, so if it's not there, I'm going to be quite upset. I can understand the scoreboard being more simple so you can just see basics, but the more you can put on there, the happier I'd be. Considering when you look at someone on your team and they're outperforming other members of the team, I want to know who got all of the nano boosts and mercy beams, on top of healing received and everything else received. These things matter a lot, and if you're constantly only giving resources to your tank or one of the DPS rather than another, it's no wonder when they can't succeed, especially when certain characters are carry type positions where they're intended to receive resources to expect them to succeed. Otherwise, they're kind of expected to lose the matchup, and they probably should just swap if you're one of those characters. Like Pharah, for example, is scarier with more resources. Flex DPS in general, but also certain hit scans. You could say this about some tanks are better with less resources and some are better with more, but we can't even begin to have that conversation in the community because we don't really even have the stats to parse this idea. Because in fact, sometimes when your tank says you haven't been giving him healing, sometimes healing them has been the problem. Because if they are in a terrible position and you just pocket them for eternity, that might be a losing strategy regardless of how much health they have. You can't heal stupid. Pocketing someone to live a little bit longer in a bad bad matchup is not much better than just letting them die and trying to find impact elsewhere. It's funny how that works in Overwatch 2. Guys, we got a lot more videos coming out in Season 2, so to make sure you don't miss out on our guides and commentary videos, please be sure to leave the video with a like, and don't forget to hit subscribe and click the bell icon to actually get notified when our videos come out. That's been it for me. I've been Frito for your Overwatch. I'll see you guys next time.